Y'all, today's video is gonna get a little weird, and if I'm being honest, some of you might be a little uncomfortable with what I'm about to suggest. However, I encourage you to keep listening because this could change your life. Welcome back to my channel. Coach Amanda here. Before we get started, I need y'all to hit the like button and then smash that subscribe button so I can keep delivering amazing content to you. Today's weirdness is going to circulate around the super uncomfortable process of personal healing. There are far too many people walking around this world completely unhealed. Some know it, and some are in complete denial about it. Because I think one of the hardest parts about healing yourself is holding yourself accountable. Now, I've made plenty of videos on accountability and the importance of it, but in this video, I want to touch on how it is connected to the healing process. Most of the time, when we think of healing, we think we have wounds and we want to completely blame people for those wounds. 9 times out of 10, the wound is from childhood. And this could be from a parent or from somebody at school or within a peer group. But something does happen where another person, when you're younger, completely traumatizes you in some way, shape, or form. This happens to everybody. Everybody comes across somebody who hurts them when they're young. Now, the level of hurt differs between people. Some people have it very, 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 very bad. And some have, something that would be considered less bad. Maybe they're bullied a little bit, but it's nothing like this other person. But regardless, both of these people who have undergone something they process as traumatic, it stores in their brain. That's the seed that gets planted in each and every one of us. And because we are so immature at that point of that seed being planted, we don't really know how to process what's happened. We don't know what to do with it. So we store it in our mind and we just keep pushing forward. Then we hit puberty. And with puberty comes not only physical growth, but also our mentality begins to shift. Whether we realize it or not, that trauma, that seed begins to grow. This is why you see so many teenagers trying to find somewhere to fit in. They want to fit in with some peer group that accepts them. While this could just fall under teenager psychology and teenagers wanting to fit in because it's a natural process in the human mind, a lot of times that deep desire to fit in somewhere is also stemming from that seed of trauma from our childhood. Now, this is where I want you to stick with me. Through our teenage years, we find that group that accepts us. We have our friend group, right? And whether those friends are a good influence or a bad influence kind of begins to decipher whether you are going to start growing more traumatic experiences. In my case, I found a friend group that really dabbled in partying, drugs, alcohol. Now, I could blame the friends and the influence all day, but at the end of the day, it was my choice. Choice is the hardest thing to accept. The fact that we had a choice in certain situations is really hard to accept. Because once we realize that, yeah, maybe we didn't react the best way, or maybe we didn't handle a situation correctly, or maybe we made a really bad choice that created this other problem. When we start to realize that we have to hold ourselves accountable for those things, a lot of times shame and guilt consume us. I need you to stop doing that. Don't do that, because within accountability should not be shame. Within accountability comes acceptance. And once we hold ourselves accountable for our own shitty actions, we can now accept those actions because the past is the past. You can't change it no matter how much you fret about it. It's done. It happened. And we can accept it now that we've pinpointed it. And then we have to forgive ourselves. In order to get to that place, you really have to let go of the blame game, because nobody wants to take complete accountability. And I've done this in my own life where I would take accountability and cherry pick kind of, okay, yeah, I screwed up here. I did this wrong. I didn't react the best here. But over here, this was all that person's fault. Now, I'm not saying every situation is your fault. I'm saying there is always a choice within every situation. You played a part in every experience that you have undergone, whether it be in what happened or your reaction to what happened. So we have realizing our choices, we have holding ourselves accountable for them, we have acceptance, and then we have forgiving ourselves. Now, some people need to reach out to a therapist to help them process and pinpoint these emotions and these traumatic events. I need you all to be careful because there's far too many therapists out there who are not in it to truly heal you. I am a huge advocate on therapy. My aunt has a PhD. She is a certified psychiatrist and she has helped so many people over the years. I really admire what she does. But there's a lot of therapists out there who will help you pinpoint all these traumatic events, get you to that root problem that we need to identify. And then instead of helping you heal from it, they validate the negative feelings you have attached to it. And this keeps you in a very bitter, low vibrational state. The reason they do this is it essentially keeps your headspace sick, and they can either keep prescribing you meds or keep having you coming back, and you're gonna keep coming back because you like that dopamine spike they give you when they validate that negative emotion. But all it does is hurt you in the end and keep you from growing at all. So be sure you have a very authentic, good psychiatrist or a psychologist. Once we get through the long, drawn-out process of forgiving ourselves, because this can't happen overnight, this entire process is very long and sometimes heart-wrenching. Eventually, we will discover that root problem, and most of the time it's childhood trauma. And releasing the blame of whoever hurt you is very, very rough. And sometimes it can take years to embrace real, true forgiveness. And some people never forgive at all. But that's why there is so many unhealed souls walking this earth. You need to embrace forgiveness, whether that is writing a note to this person that hurt you and then burning it to let it go, surrendering yourself to God and finding yourself in a faith-based community to help you get at a higher elevation of self-love and self-awareness so you can find it in your heart to forgive that person. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's meditating or journaling. Whatever it is, you need to figure out how you can come to terms with what happened as a child, and you really do need to embrace forgiveness. Now, we're this far into the video and I told y'all I have a very weird and out-of-the-box suggestion for you to help you heal fully. But in order to do what I'm about to tell you, that root problem and that person or circumstance or situation that's attached to the root problem, you have to be fully healed and have forgiven that person 100%. Once you have let this go and the root problem is now healed, it's now a scar, it's no longer, ruining how you see yourself, ruining your life, but all of the other stuff that's spiderwebbed off of it is still kind of floating around in your brain. Again, while it's not running your life and it's not causing you complete upset, it's still in there, and you get these ebb and flow kind of emotions regarding certain things that you've gone through. For me, it's the thousands of choices that I made and reactions that I had to people that I cared about, and they play in my brain all the time. I've been very selective with social media and who I tell these stories to and what I've done, and I'm a pretty open book, but I will say that I've cherry-picked certain things within my healing journey to share with the public. But I recently revealed a healing technique that I didn't realize would set me completely free, and it was to put myself on blast. Yep, that's right. Put myself on blast. And you're probably thinking, what? I don't want to put myself on blast. I already have low self-esteem. Again, you cannot do what I'm suggesting if you still have low self-esteem, because that means you aren't healed from a root problem yet. This suggestion is for people who are pretty damn healed, but they still got the floaties going around in their head. Put yourself on blast. Quit cherry picking your story. Quit telling bits and pieces of your wrongdoings and hiding others. I recently made a post talking about some deep stuff, like actually owning up to being abusive to past partners. When I was drunk, I absolutely was. I would put my hands on them, but then I'd go around telling everybody else that I was abused because my partner would put their hands back on me. But I always left out the part that I was being abusive. Also shared that I have lied. I've lied to the public to further create this army of people that would back me and validate my negative emotions regarding whatever this was. And you might think, oh wow, you shared that you lied and that you were abusive when you were drunk. Big deal. But these were big deals because my shame is deeply attached to those things specifically. I was able to share a lot of other things with the public and on social media and with friends and family that I had shame towards, but not like deep shame. The deep shame stuff, I kept quiet. But once I healed the root problem and I had the floaties going on, and I was like, gosh, I still just, I'm tired of thinking about these things, and I don't think people really know about these things, and that bothers me. I feel kind of like a fraud. I shared everything that I've done, but then at the end of it, I put, you know what this has done? This led me to become real as now that I'm in this real headspace and I feel like I'm fully authentic, and I took the jump to share some of the stuff I was terrified to share with the public in fear that they would think I was a phony, think I was a horrible person. Once I made the leap to just share it, this is me. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm me. It was one of the most freeing things I have ever done. And all that stuff that was floating around in my mind was released. While this exercise might not be for everyone, I highly suggest it to those of you who still feel like you have bits and pieces that you need to be fully healed from. Airing who you are, being authentic. You hear it so much on social media. You know, people only share the highlight reel of their life. And it's like, if more people put themselves on blast, we would have a lot more accepting community. We would have a lot better of a society, because instead of social media being flooded with the highlights, we'd get to see all the dark sides too. And it would make everyone just feel like they're not alone, because we all have trauma. We all have pieces that are unhealed, and we all have made a lot of mistakes. So put yourself on blast. I promise it's going to be such a freeing experience.